presented many, and our guest of honor or our speaker for today is Dr. Vidyottma Jha and Miss Rapti Mishra, who is a professor of Delhi University. So, first of all, we will start with Miss Rapti Mishra, who is an assistant professor in the department of Shamlal College, University of Delhi, and she is currently pursuing her PhD. And she has also presented many research papers in many national and international conferences. And now she will be providing us legal knowledge about this topic.
Thank you, Nidhi ji. Very good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor and a great privilege to speak to a group of learned advocates on a topic which genuinely needs immediate recourse more than ever. I think speaking on a topic like marital rape in the Indian context is a huge responsibility, and I would try to do justice to it. And to be very clear, I'll be talking about all the academic debates and social angles related to criminalization of marital rape. So at the outset, I would like to first thank to the team Vidyottma for inviting me to talk on such a contested issue. In particular, I would like to express my gratitude to the President Vidyottma Jha, Secretary Ms. Nidhi Bansal, Shri Om Prakash Mishra, Shri Neminath Chaturvedi, Shri Vikas Kumar Singh, Advisors Vidyottma, Convener Shri Puneet Vinay, Ms. Rashmi Arora, Ms. Ritu Khera, and all the executive members. Before I start my address, I must acknowledge the kind of work Vidyottma is doing in spreading a legal awareness at the grassroots level. We really need some legal literacy on the ground. Reaching out to common people is just a commendable and remarkable work you all are doing. Now, with this, I would like to switch to my topic of today's discussion. And the topic, criminalization of marital rape, it should be divided into two parts. And the first part will be a brief overview about the dominant literature and research in the West. And the second part will be dealing straight away with the specific case of India. And before starting my actual discussion, can I know how much time do I have for this?
15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So, talking about criminalization of marital rape, and if we look at the Western literature, it is the institution of marriage which becomes the source for exploitation of women in the sphere of household. For example, John Stuart Mill, in his seminal work, The Subjection of Women, 1869, argues that marriage is the only actual bondage known to our law. There remains no legal slave except the mistress of every house. However, a tyrant she may be unfortunately chained to, her husband who can claim from her and enforce her the lowest degradation of human being, that of being made the instrument of an animal function contrary to her inclinations. Now let me give you another reflection by Lucy Stone from her work, Letter from Lucy Stone to Antoinette Brown, 1855. What she observes, she basically observes the condition of women by arguing that, and let me quote her, a few sentences from her work. She says that it is a very little to me to have the right to vote, to own property, etc. But if I may not be able to keep my body and its uses in my absolute right, not one wife in 1,000 can do that now. As you can see, how thought-provoking these excerpts are, and which shows that the right over women's body and soul, has been the source of discussion in Western literature. With modernity, individualism and feminist movement, this claim over one's body has touched several new aspects, such as, you know, having the sense of equal physical moral worth, similar to that of man, violation of which is paramount to violating the trust and dignity of being together as a social being. And, such violation, even though forbidden, has occurred in human history as ignore these incidences as exception to actually establish a social norm. So this brings us to a question of what marital rape is. And, the acceptance and development of marital rape within the institution of marriage is exempted on the basis of three theories, academics. The first being implied consent, which has been given by Matthew Hale, who argued that husband cannot be guilty of a rape committed by himself upon his lawful wife, because a woman, upon entering marriage, impliedly and irreversibly consent to sex on demand with her husband at any time and under any circumstances. The second theory is based on unity and a woman as a marital property. What is that? Unity theory is best articulated in the work of Blackstone. He argues that by marriage, the husband and wife are one in law, one person in law. The very being or legal existence of women, in this case, is suspended during marriage, or at least incorporated and consolidated into her husband's. And this unity theory therefore stands for the proposition that because the wife and the husband are one, the husband is incapable of raping his wife because he's incapable of raping himself. The unity doctrine is also, considered as the basis for historical view of women as a property of marriage in Western literature. Now, there's another third theory which I would like to talk about. It is the narrow constructionist theory. What is that? This third theory, which starts with English common law, defines rape as an unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman against her will. But in the cases related to marriage, it held that there are no sexual relation within a marriage that are unauthorized and unlawful. Thus, no sexual relation within a marriage fall within the definition of marital rape. As you can see, against all these established theories, one of the pioneer works of Diana H. Russell. This is considered as the first book on marital rape. Her work is titled as Rape in Marriage, 1982, in which she situates rape in context of a violence against women and explores, similarities and differences between marital rape, women battery, stranger rape, acquaintance rape. And she also suggests that wife rape may be more traumatic than rape by a stranger, because there exists, not only a sense of betrayal by one's own spouse, but there exist many social, psychological, economic reasons which serve as an, obstacle to leaving the violent spouse. As against the work done by Russell, there exist many modern justifications supporting marital rape exemptions, which are basically grounded on four rationales. What are those? These are marital privacy, marital reconciliation, fear of false allegation and difficult proof requirement, and the last one, the belief that rape within marriage is less severe than rape outside marriage. So now, these modern justification brings us to the question of the position of women in contemporary society as a wife within the institution of marriage. Here, I would like to refer to one of the classic work, The Sexual Contract by, Carol Patman, in which she says, marriage contract too is a kind of labor contract. To become a wife entails becoming a housewife. That is, a wife is someone who works for her husband in marital home. As such, most of the feminists, sometimes portray the contemporary wife as serf and argue that family is a quasi-feudal institution in which there is no equal status between men and women. Now, taking together the cultural belief that man has an overpowering need for sex, forced sex in marriages is due to withholding of sex by the wives, again minimizes the effect of such a traumatic experience and places the blame on the victims of marital rape. There's a study conducted in 1989 conducted by Campbell and Alford, and they surveyed around 1,000 women currently living in battered women's shelter, which is located in mostly belonging to the women belonging to urban, suburban, rural areas. And this study made a shocking revelation in which out of 115 respondents, the 82.7 reported vaginal marital rapes, 52.8 reported anal rape, 28.6 reported object being forcefully put into the vagina and anus, and in addition, 44.1 reported being hit, kicked, or burned during sex. 17.8 stated that, and I really want you to, the 17.8 stated that their children witnessed, yes, their children witnessed the sexual attacks, and 5.2 reported that the children were forced to participate in the rapes. So these Western literature and researches, which I just discussed, reveal some of the really uncomfortable facts related to marital rapes. Now, switching to the second part of my discussion, let me contextualize the entire issue of marital rape in India. So before discussing the issue of marital rape in India, one has to be sensitive about the institution of family and marriage, which is culturally and qualitatively, mind you, it is culturally and qualitatively distinctive, distinct from the West. One has to be rationally engage with the notion of dharma, be it Stri Dharma, Purush Dharma, or Grihastha Ashrama Dharma, which is the organizing principle of the family in India. One also has to take into account the variation and diversity related to the type of marriages which existed in India prior to the enactment of Hindu Marriage Act. Like we had marriages like Brahma Vivaha, Deva Vivaha, Arsa, Prajapatya, Sura, Gandharva, Rakshasa, Pishacha Vivaha in our culture. However, the idea of family and marriage practices have undergone a radical change with the advent of modernity and plurality, especially with the advent of Britishers. So what are the arguments being made to criminalize divorce on several grounds and a separate Domestic Act 2005 in place? People who argue for criminalization of marital rape basically say that there are problems in Domestic Violence Act, due to which it is considered inadequate to deal with cases of marital rapes. The first being that while the term sexual abuse is mentioned in the Act, it does not explicitly define rape as it is defined in Section 375 of the IPC. The second problem is the Domestic Violence Act has been deemed as a civil law. And by that rationale, there is a possibility that the accused can get away without any jail term. So therefore, there is certainly a void where husbands who rape their wives can get away with it without any jail term. Because of this reason, a civil law, by definition, falls short and cannot deal adequately with a heinous act like rape, even within the institution of marriage. The current law has no provision if a woman wants to file a case against her husband, and if she does, if she doesn't actually has the protection of law. So, what are the arguments? Dwelling upon what are the arguments for not criminalizing marital rape, or what are the pitfalls related to it? The first thing is the fear of misuse of law. it's a big, basically a big reason for several individuals, like, because dowry cases, most of the, people decide the example of dowry cases where it was found that more than 85% of dowry cases turn out to be false in India, and they cannot deal with another catastrophic law like this, right, which will lead to legal terrorism, I would say. So many men says, many men right activists, they are especially wary of criminalizing marital rape, and as they feel that it will be misused even more than anti-dowry laws. There are several cases where the husband has been, there are cases where husband have, committed suicide after being accused in 498A cases. So the argument is that if marital rape is criminalized, it would be another law that disgruntled wives can use falsely. While this does not dismiss the fact that marital rape does happen and there are several victims out there, the argument is that this law would be used against innocent men far more than being used to get justice for real victims. The second, argument, for not criminalizing marital rape is the burden of proof. This is a rather more complex issue because, often emphasized by the courts. And the burden of proof is basically, has prevented marital rape to be criminalized because many argue that once, a woman alleges that she has been raped in marriage, there would hardly be any evidence like CCTV footage, etc., to prove that woman has or has not been raped. And therefore, the burden of proof would be a difficult concept to apply in these cases. The breakdown of the institution of marriage is the third argument in support of exemption of marital rape. One of the main arguments is not to criminalize, and it would lead to breakdown of institution of marriage with wives falsely, accusing their husbands. So, what is the way forward to it? Yes, here we are again. So, but talking about, criminalization of marital rape in India, we really need to be cautious considering the nature of society we have. Ours is not an individualistic society like West. And here, marriage is just not about husband and wife, but it actually is seen as a bond between two families coming together and standing for each other in good and bad times. It is also about dharma. Therefore, we really need to take this point into consideration before making such laws. Otherwise, it is going to create a social crisis. So one needs to be really sensitive to the Indian context and its history, its practices, while talking about marital rape in marriages. But this should not hinder, yes, here again I reiterate, we should not hinder from raising, the critical question related to marital rape, howsoever uncomfortable it is, particularly when we have rising cases with several victims out there suffering from such heinous crime within the secure wall of their own family. We're a country which has always believed in improving upon itself with changing time. You have done it in the past with Child Marriage Act, Dowry Act, abolition of Sati Pratha. So the time has come to address the issue of marital rape with a stronger law. Because, isn't it oxymoron to say that we are New India?
And I lost my network. So now I hand over to Ms. Vidyottma Jha to put some more light on this topic.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, everyone. And Ms. Rapti, she actually gave a very good lecture. It was wonderful, rather. So I have not so many points left with me, but then I'll try to put it to the legal aspect more. But still, let's understand this concept itself first, because this is actually a very wide concept. Like marriage itself is a very big concept in our society. We cannot actually just say that there are some new issues and we can give there is a clash. There is a clash in the concept, and then there are other issues. And so many institutions, many organizations, some are supporting and some are actually saying that the institution will be crumbling. So why are we discussing this today? Because we actually, being an Indian, we want to understand the concept that does this happen actually in our society? Is it actually prevailing in our South Asia, Asia, Europe, everywhere, United States? We see number of cases everywhere, and nowhere in the world women are safe. But there are few countries who have criminalized it. There are few who have not. So India falls in the second category. But if we take the Fulmani case of 1889, a 35-year-old man, in that time when the British government was, we are not taking it seriously. People are saying that marital rape is not an issue. It's a trivial issue. It happens in every family. But it affects the women everywhere, psychologically, physically, they are affected. And India came up with a with a code, that is Domestic Violence Act in 2005, where to give a sort of protection to women against the Article 2 of United Nations, wherein they are actually trying to see through the matters with respect to women. They include marital rape in their concept as a that they say that explicitly in the definition of violence against women. We cannot actually leave this topic right away. We cannot. It is not meant to beguile, but to give the victim the benefit of doubt. And then there is Section 498A, which was and which is still being questioned all around, that it is being misused. But that is the only section that gives the women their upper hand over the men in many ways. It is the only section which can control the perverse sexual conduct by the husband. Then there was one Law Commission report, that is the 172 Law Commission report. It spoke about very clearly about the clause 2 of section 375, that it should be there needs the substantial is there, the article 14, 15 and article 21. We are actually given the given the rights to equality, right to gender, religion, caste, everything, right to privacy. We are given everything in our constitution. Then why women are not being given this right to speak about their physical conditions, the kind of issues they deal with in their marriage, in their households? It is spoken that it is always told about, they are always told about to keep it inside their house. This is a family matter, it's a private matter. But how private it is? When the women are facing so much, they are facing so many issues, is it a private issue? For that, the personal liberty, the question of personal liberty comes up. And we had a case called Bindal versus Union of India, wherein the Article 20, it is very clearly mentioned because of this only, that if it comes to her life, that a grave consequence like death may follow, then it can be taken as a rape. So then there is another case, Independent Thought versus Union of India. In this case, it was a landmark judgment where the Supreme Court came up with the view that we need to harmonize the system of laws relating to children. And exception 2 of 375 was IPC was actually in picture, and they said that sexual intercourse or sexual acts with of a man with his own wife who is not less than 18 years of age is not rape. That means any girl who is below the age of consent, and if a man actually forces her into this sexual relationship, he can be tried in the court of law. So it was actually to preserve and protect the constitution and the vision the constitution makers had in their mind initially. So and thereafter we have this. We can actually praise Supreme Court for this judicial activism and craftsmanship, but they here also, like always, escaped from the issue of marital rape in the wider connotation. They didn't want to talk about it, and they are actually refraining from it In fact, if we go by the political scenario, if we go by the idea other institutions are throwing upon us, they're saying that this is a trivial issue. This is not something. There are bigger issues that we should be actually worried about in our society. So they are not wanting to get into this much. Still, we had one landmark judgment, that is case Puttaswamy versus Union of India, wherein the concept of decisional privacy was spoken. So decisional privacy means privacy, right to privacy, right to take decisions primarily consisting of one's sexual or procreative nature, and decisions in respect of intimate relations. So after this, there was one Burma committee. It says that if we agree with all this issue of marital rape and the things that have been occurring in our society, or they actually exist in our society, the institution of marriage has the potential of getting destroyed. Uh, they actually, the committee itself did not agree with the concept of the discussing the agreeing with the concept or discussing it or taking it more seriously. They actually took the escapist route. Then the human rights advocates have not taken it lightly. They are actually taking it as an offense, or they say that there should be some legal recourse. They are saying that they should be penalized. The victims should get some legal recourse. The men who are actually the perpetrators, they should be penalized. But here in India, we are not. In anytime soon, we are not going to see any such law, because our courts, our system, our entire society, we are not actually ready for the new kind of law, new things in the system with respect to marriage. We are actually we are in the comfort zone that marriage, it means such and such things, and we actually cannot experiment with new ideas, new thought. I agree with the fact that proving the marital rape will be a difficult thought, because the prosecutrix has to prove that it happened with her on her own. There won't be any witness, because there can't be any witness in such situations, and she has to prove it with medical evidences, the injuries on the private parts, the position of hymen, the presence of spermatozoa, the accused semen. Accused maybe having the semen of the victim or something like that. Whatever, like the bodily injuries only can prove this. So this is a difficult thing, but then there can be some safeguards. The misuse may be there, but every law can be misused. We all know that every law can be misused. We cannot say that this law can be misused and this cannot. Since we live in a society, we come across so many crimes, so many offenses, so many disorders, and there are laws for everything. There are loopholes. So we have to keep in mind the safeguards has to be thought upon. There has to be some kind of deliberation on the issue, and then we can the government can actually take the boards. The government can actually make a committee, make people sit together. The intellectual people, the intelligentsia can be used. The legal luminaries can be used, and then they can think about the issue, and then actually carve out a separate kind of legal. Legal recourse, legal things which the women can actually take up, and that I also agree that there can be misuse with respect to the, like, men can be exploited here. Like in section 498, most of the men, like not most of them, but many men are actually innocent. But that is it, because women are facing it. There has to be a law, and there can be safeguards. There can be exceptions. Like we all know that law always has some exceptions, some clauses which protects us from many factors. Many times we use those exceptions for our own good. So state needs to acknowledge the women's actual experienced reality in context of unequal inequality that they've been through. They are not only the voters or second-class citizens who have been getting unequal pay or allocation of inferior work. They need to be taken seriously, because it's high time, and they need to get some status as equal citizens. They need to get their rights in place. So we know that we are going through an era of change. Like we always say that it's new India. We need to understand new thoughts. We need to go through all the progressive ideas, and we need to understand that rape is rape. In any case, rape is rape. Any kind of abuse that woman goes through should be actually questioned, should be actually taken to the legal route. It should be, they should get their rights. It's not about their body only, it's about their physical, mental, and social status. If they should get the equal position, they should get their everything, that like equal pay, right to work in a free environment, not like that, that they are actually in a kind of inferiority complex or kind of serious terror that men are around. Like many places where there is the dominance of men, so the predominance of men has to be actually questioned. Women, as they have an agency, they have an autonomy, they have their authority, that they have to be, there has to be some kind of system that makes them realize that they are actually important. They are the individuals. Actually, we have to look up to the things that can make society a better place. And with this, I come to an end, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nidhi, Babita, and everyone, the executive team, the members, the audience, everyone, for bearing with me.
Thank you so much, Vidyottma ma'am, for putting light on the topic and taking legal issues, everything. And now we have a question regarding the topic. Why criminalizing marital rape is still a distant dream in India? So, if any one of you
Yes, definitely. I would like to answer first. But before answering this question, I would like to extend my appreciation to Dr. Jha for such an enlightening legal perspective. And as Dr. Jha also emphasized that in New India, we need to address older issues. And it shows the marital rape to be the first one. Criminalization of marital rape as a distant dream, I actually don't agree with this. I would say that it's not basically a distant dream, but definitely a hard nut to crack. Because of several reasons, and the first being that we still do not have uniform marital laws in the country, considering the diverse nature of the society. Also, in course of my lecture, as I reiterated, emphasize the fact that we really need to take cultural context of this nation, and without bringing diverse view on the same page through consultation, we cannot really bring about such laws. This would require a lot of hard work from all around, be it society, government, judiciary, I mean to say, an overall multi-dimensional, multi-layered social outreach and wider consultation is required. Public discussions and right education, especially legal awareness among the women in the country, is also important. So I hope that I've answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I can't agree more with Rapti here, but I would like to add that it's not a distant dream, but yet you have to wait because our lawmakers are not taking it so very seriously for now. Because there are many sections that they have their own individual interests, so they are not taking it up very seriously. So it will take time. I can say this this is because they actually have to see their own aspects first. They cannot actually take a very we know that government is trying to increase the legal age of marriage. There is a lot of dispute with respect to that, which is actually a good thing. We are giving our daughters time. So they are actually not agreeing with that. How they will agree with this thing? They will not actually agree with this also. But then it will come in coming times. We can be hopeful for this.
We are not the natural law on the basis which we want to have the control over all these offences. In my opinion, as we had been instilled in India, until and unless we are not virtuous, we are not following the religion. Religion in the sense of what the sake of the welfare of the human, very difficult to have the control because what are the ways to control? The laws, and in law it is very difficult to all these things. As you see in American law, it is very difficult to prove the rape. Because in their opinion, until and unless there is no hint or there is no indication from the opposite side, rape is not possible. So there is hardly possible to prove the law. So I mean that law is not everything. We should educate the person nowadays, as we had been in later Vedic era of this ancient India. This is my opinion. I have made the observation that if we are not virtuous, it will be very difficult because we are for the sake of formality. We are making the course, we are just doing and quite enough to party. For good society, religion is very necessary. In whatever country it is, the respective religion. In our religion, these are very things that I remember we should keep all these things in mind in our sanskaras. Then we can control all these things. Otherwise, it is a very just discussion and making law. So, in my opinion, may be wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving your opinion. There is one more question. How we can define a concern of a woman in this case?
Concern of a woman, it's all, we are actually discussing about the concern of a woman only. So we cannot actually define it in just one term or one. I said very clearly that she has to prove her case herself. The burden of proof lies on her. So if she has the proof, she has ample proof, medical proof. I know there are loopholes. It is very difficult to prove the case of rape while you're staying with the same man. So there we have to think the problem of lawmakers also. If the woman has started living separately or she has some case lying in the court of law, then only this can be applied. But living in the same house, it will be difficult. You don't know, nobody knows exactly what is going on inside the household. So it will be difficult.
And in addition to this point, I would like to add that there are not many women who, we need to take cognizance of this fact that many women are not comfortable talking about this.
Right.
Right. And even the most educated women, they also, they hardly are aware of these kind of concepts. So we really need to have legal awareness and proper education be provided to our girls now. And that was way back in I'm talking about the data way back in 1988.
In 1988.
But National Crime Records Bureau actually gives this data of till 2016-17 we can find on the net, and it's terrifying, still terrifying.
Yes. And the newspapers are filled with these kind of reports, surveys, data. I read one article in print, and they were also talking about the trends in India, especially the case of Karnataka, Punjab, Goa, Bihar, and it's terrifying. Yes, it is. And the very idea of concept.
Yeah, and I would like to say that none of the path is, easy. It's full of obstacles. So we should at least take an initiative and, as though so many laws have been already made and it is said that women are equal to men, but in fact it is not so, and they actually suffer a lot, and it is really horrifying and terrifying if you see the data of the rape cases. See, and as far as this is concerned, marital rape, people, ladies, girls, females are suffering because of this also, and an initiative should be taken in this matter as well. As we see, if we think that it cannot be explained, or it will be difficult to prove, but it is not so. Evidences are always there. It has just to be taken care
Very
of.
difficult to prove.
Yeah, I know it is difficult to prove, but it is not impossible to prove. The laws are made.
It is very difficult to prove the rape. This is my experience. I am telling you.
But in
I
this,
mean, why not to educate the persons on the way of religion? Why we should not try?
treat her son in such a manner, not to misbehave any female. But does it happen? No.
No.
So I think some ways have to be find out.
Right.
I have seen some examples also. I should tell you practically that even in some areas, some mothers are just initiating and they are inspiring that just to go and rape. Rape, not I am not saying it as some type of rape, but just to have the illegal relation like this.
In your program, but due to internal problem, sometime I could not hear the entire lecture. वैसे सोम प्रकाश मिश्रा जी whatever he has said that it is difficult but it is not impossible. If you make a law, it will work. Let it be long time, but it will work. But I don't think so that in Indian scenario there should be any medical rape case. This type of matter should be implemented in Indian society because yatra nari pujante tatra devta, whatever what Mr. Mishra has said.
Just in the book.
सर भारत में हम महिला को एक नारी को देवी के समान पूजते हैं और हम यहाँ पे उसका सम्मान करते हैं, तो हमें ऐसा नहीं लगता कि इस तरह की बातें ला करके इंडियन सोसाइटी को ब्रेक करने की बात हो जाती है। जब हम इस तरह के मैरिटल रेप के बारे में बात करते हैं तो लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं इंडियन सोसाइटी टूटेगी। ये अमेरिका के डेवलप नहीं है।
We have lost our culture.
Yes.
We have lost our culture. That's why it is happening so. Otherwise, this was not in India as it is so. Nowadays.
Very well. No more suggestion, ma'am.
बिल्कुल।
सर मुझे लगता है कि जो हमारी प्रथा है, हमारी जो हम आइडिया ऑफ धर्म की बात करते हैं हमारे हिंदू रिलीजन में, वहाँ पर हम बात करते हैं स्त्री धर्म, पुरुष धर्म की भी बात करते हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि ये सारी चीजें दोबारा से याद दिलाने की जरूरत है हमारे लड़कों, हमारे बॉयज। ये जो the sanctity of this relation, we really need to remind our boys कि आपका कर्तव्य आपकी पत्नी की तरफ भी है, और इससे अपने कल्चर को प्रोटेक्ट करते हुए इस तरीके की प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व जैसे टेलियोलॉजिकली हैंडल कर पाएंगे। और शायद स्टेक होल्डर्स है, उन्हें एक पेज पे ला के डिस्कशन करना चाहिए। इस तरीके के पब्लिक फोरम जैसा विधिग्राम ने हमें प्रोवाइड किया है आज इसको डिस्कस करने के लिए, मुझे लगता है ऐसे डिस्कशंस और भी होने चाहिए, क्योंकि हम मानते हैं कि कल्चर को हम डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज वो जो ओरिजिनलिटी है वो कहीं ना कहीं खो जाएगी। ये जो मॉडर्निटी एंड ट्रेडिशन का कनेंड्रम है, जहाँ पर वुमेन आजकल, हर एक वुमेन आज की एजुकेटेड से एजुकेटेड वुमेन जो झूल रही है, कंफ्यूज्ड है, एक जगह से कल्चर उसे खींच रहा है, दूसरी तरफ से उसे एम्पावरमेंट का जो आइडिया है उसे खींच रहा है। तो कहीं ना कहीं इन सारी आइडियाज को हमें एक जगह डिस्कस करने की जरूरत है, एड्रेस करने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि नारी शक्ति ये हमारे ही कल्चर में हमें बताया गया है, जहाँ पर शिव ने और कई देवताओं ने दुर्गा को अपने जो है शक्तियों को इविल्स को खत्म करने के लिए शक्तियां प्रदान की, और उन्होंने वो किया। तो ये भी एक इविल है और हम दुर्गा हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं हमें इस पूरे सिस्टम को हमारी दुर्गा को जगाने की, से प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए उसे वो पावर देनी पड़ेगी, जो कि कहीं ना कहीं जुडिशरी से ही आएगी। थैंक यू।
उसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स आए हैं, उसको डील तो करना परेगा। हम कान तो नहीं खोल सकते, वी कैन नॉट क्लोज आवर आईज कि ऐसा हो ही नहीं रहा है, या ये इससे हमारे सोसाइटी में चेंजेस हो जाएंगे। जो भी चेंजेस होंगे अच्छे या बुरे, उसको भी हमें डील करना पड़ेगा।
यस, हमने डाउरी लॉ जो है बनाए, चाइल्ड मैरिज जो है इसके लिए एक्ट्स बनाए, हमने वुमेन की प्रॉपर्टी राइट को असर्ट किया दोबारा थ्रू जुडिशन। व्हाई नॉट दिस? हमारा कल्चर, हमारा जो अपना हिंदू, चाहे हमारे पूरे देश का जो कल्चर है, वो हम जानते हैं किस तरीके से नई चुनौतियों को कैसे हैंडल करना है, और ये चुनौती नई नहीं है, बस हमने आंख बंद कर रखी है। तो आज समय है कि हम इसे एड्रेस करें और डिफरेंट फोरम के थ्रू एड्रेस करें, मुझे ऐसा लगता है। और आई थिंक यहाँ पे मैं
थैंक यू सो मच सबको। मैं थैंक्स कहना चाहती हूँ हमारे दोनों स्पीकर को, हमारे व्यूअर्स को, और इतना हेल्दी डिस्कशन करने के लिए। और बबीता मैम को भी थैंक्स करना चाहती हूँ कि जिन्होंने मुझे मौका दिया कि मैं इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकूँ। और आगे भी हम ये प्रोग्राम ऐसे ही करते रहेंगे।
all mine.
थैंक यू सो मच राप्ती मैम, थैंक यू सो मच।